Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. Welcome to a new week and new money. I am your host, Spin Doc. This is the Spin Zone brought to you on behalf of the Daily Bread Network. Please, as it says on the crawl down there, please subscribe to the Daily Bread Network on YouTube for all of our daily content. We have obviously this show. Got a whole bunch of NFL stuff, NFL shorts that we're dropping in bunches with myself and with Sosa. Whole bunch more NFL content coming up. So please do subscribe, and also if you like what you hear, smash that like button. Also follow me if you're not already at SpinDoc Sports on X. So we are back from the All-Star break. I had the Friday Super Show, no shows on the weekends, and hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. I very much did. Just got back from my parents' cabin, spent it on the water, nice and relaxed. But also, before we review what happened over the weekend, also spent it making a whole bunch of money for VIP. VIP's at a new season high now for the year. If you're in it and you're in here, you know what I'm talking about. We're 18-4 over the last week and a half before it precedes the All-Star break. 57.7% up. We're almost to 30 units. Almost to 30 units. We were one strikeout away from a triple sweep, and Hunter Brown just couldn't get it done at plus money. But let's before we segue into what happened over the weekend, as always, if you want to get into the Win the Day VIP, please, the link is in my bio. Hit me up on DM. We can get you in for a day, for a week, for anything. We are just printing money in that place, and it's only getting better. The drive to finish up around the 50-60 unit mark for the year is in full effect. So if you're interested, hit me up. But let's talk about what happened over the weekend. So first and foremost, let's just get this out of the way. One, because it happened last night, and two, because it's just been a theme for the entire year. Just don't fade Tarek Skubal ever. If you're not confident in his over, just leave it alone. I'm not saying you have to play his over every time he pitches. Just don't. You especially can't fade Tarek Skubal in primetime games. I've said this over and over again, that Tarek Skubal is the most overpowering and potentially dominant pitcher in Major League Baseball today. It's not even close. I mean, just made the Rangers look silly last night. And I'm really, really glad that his offense came through after that wild pitch after they pulled him from the game, which could have been a questionable decision. I know he's at 106 pitches, but he's facing a kid with 2 outs and he wanted to go, but we'll put that aside. But let's talk about stat after stat after stat. Tarek Skubal is just dominant. I still maintain that the most complete pitcher in Major League Baseball today is a guy that we're going to be talking about in just a few seconds, who does take the bump today. So, but Tarek Skubal is just incredible. So no matter what you do, don't fade Tarek Skubal. Just don't do it. Don't even think about doing it. If you don't like the over, or it's got too much juice, or it's too much or too little, whatever, then just leave it alone. The second thing that I wanted to bring up is I wanted to use part of this time to talk about what happens when the books talk, and what happens when a lot of cappers out there and a lot of people with, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of followers, a big following, and people that spend their money on these plays. What happens when they don't listen? And that happens a lot yesterday. And if you need any further proof, you go and you look at Mackenzie Gore. So Mackenzie Gore was averaging almost 6.5 strikeouts per game. He was even more dominant at home, and had multiple outings. Obviously, the trends, and I roll my eyes at that one always. The trends all say, 17 of last 19 and 15 of last 16 when the air pressure is whatever. I'm making this up, but you get my point. You can use trends to say whatever you want. And I'll just say it straight up, is that using trends as your primary capping method is a losing strategy. Always has been, always will be. And the point of this is not to trash on trendies or trend bettors, as I call them. The point of this is to try to educate people into how the books take advantage of that, because in no world ever should Mackenzie Gore at home against any opponent, I don't care who it is, when his outs are not at a reduced rate, meaning his outs that his projected innings was 6. Obviously, he didn't go that, but his projected outs and innings was exactly what he normally gets, and he was at 4.5 strikeouts, which is almost 2 full strikeouts under his average. Now, it got bumped up to 5.5 in a few places because they got hammered with over money on purpose. And so when you look at a trend chart and you see stuff like that, you immediately think, well, he's hit this in 15 out of 16. As one capper that some of you know posted as their, what the F is this line play? Well, it's a trap. And it's the same trap that you walk into day after day after day after day after day. Again, I'm not naming names because it doesn't make a difference. Now, I'm not going to trash another person on this show. What I'm telling you about is the overall strategy of using that and thinking that because a pitcher has hit this number in 17 of 18 or whatever the trend says, that it's a can't miss play. And not only do you play it, but you also play it heavily juiced at -140, -150, and so forth. Well, we saw what happened yesterday. Mackenzie Gore got destroyed, barely even made it out of the 3rd inning, and had 2 strikeouts. Now, I will say this over and over and over again because I follow this religiously. And if you look at the record directly beneath my name, you will see that I'm telling the truth here. The books always know. They always know. They always have it scouted. They spend millions upon millions of dollars on predictive algorithms, and they set lines like that to entrap people that use trend sheets that you can get for free, and looking at some basic metrics like hit rate, strikeout percentage. So when you see a situation like that, I'm not saying that you need to fade it. Now, we did fade Gore yesterday in VIP. We played the under and we won. We won handily. And so I say this because when you see a play like that and you see people with a line that makes no sense whatsoever and are using a hit rate sheet, it's a hit rate against a different opponent, different scenario, home versus road, different circumstances, different line, different everything. There's nothing the same. So I'm trying to say this as a public service announcement to say the books always know. And if you see any capper that posts anywhere that says, well, this line is wrong, the books made a mistake. No, they're dumb. The books don't make mistakes like that. They don't make mistakes like that. They set lines very purposefully, very, very much according to predictive algorithms that they have software that they spend millions of dollars on per year. So if you sitting at home with your free trend sheet thinking that you know better and that you outcap them, you didn't. So there are 2 ways to play lines like that. Number 1 is to just follow what they're saying and go with it, even though by the math, by the trends, I guess I should say, and by the strikeout percentage or by the hit percentage, whatever it is, it makes no sense whatsoever. The books know what they're doing, period, the end. Everybody who thinks differently is wrong. So, and if you think that's not true, they're billionaires and we're not. And that's the end of it. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox about that one for a while, but like I said, not trying to trash on anybody and not going to name names. And I really hope that nobody doesn't. Please don't in the chat either if you know the people that I'm talking about. That's not the point of this. The point of this is to hopefully educate people that if it were that easy to just take a free hit rate sheet and strikeout percentage chart and apply it, or hit rate sheet for anything really, whether it's hits or home runs or whatever the case might be, then the books wouldn't be in business and everybody would be, and all of us that do sports betting would be a millionaire. And that's not what happened. So anyways, we will move on. There wasn't really anything else of note on Sunday. A couple other things. I mean, Garrett Crochet didn't hit his over for the first time in a while, but the opponent played a big role in that because your to be at Wrigley was a tough ask. They lowered his strikeout line, not to the point where it would be like Mackenzie Gore, where it's like, wait, what? But it was lowered, and it was something to pay attention to. The only other one that I wanted to talk about from the weekend was on Saturday, because we cashed this one as well in VIP, was Freddie Peralta. This is another line where when you looked at it, it didn't make any sense, because he was set at 5.5 the first time that these two teams met prior to Saturday, a couple weeks before. And he was set at 5.5 with a juiced 5.5, over 5.5 at minus 150. Now, a week and a half later, he gets the same opponent with virtually the same lineup and no Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts was not in the lineup that night. And you get over 5.5 at plus money. Again, you can go back and look at his hit rate, and you can look at all the normal basic metrics, and it would tell you to play the over on that one because, well, he hit it last time. They don't give away free money, and they know what they're doing. So when that happens, we go the other way. We always go the other way, or we leave it alone. So Freddie Peralta did not hit his over. We played the under, cashed very easily, but that's just another example of what I was talking about. Okay, let's go to some comments before we get on with the business of the day. We got 3 pitchers to talk about today, and I want to give a thanks to Miss Chris 28. Thank you so much for joining and for reposting the stream. Same thing with Who Dat Boy Jay. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate you. And Kid Keon asking why Bubik got taken out with a 66 pitch count, and I think Berg was saying, yeah, he was sick. Yeah, he was. He actually, I think, was going to come out the previous inning, but told them that he was going to try to. They agreed that he would try to gut it out one more, but he was not feeling good at all. Good morning to Philip. Thank you for joining, and appreciate you as well. And Adams Digest speaks the truth. Smash that like button, please, 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 if you like what you're hearing. Okay. With that out of the way, we do have 3 pitchers to talk about today. As always, if you do have any other people that you want to hear about that we don't cover here, please do go ahead and put that in the chat, and we will get to it at the end with other takes, like things that I like, etc. So, all right. Well, we have 3 guys to talk about today. So I talked about who might be the most complete pitcher in baseball, whereas Tarik Skubal is the most dominating and overpowering. And you should already know who it is. It's Wheels, man. It's Wheels. Mr. Zach Wheeler, striking guys out at a 33% rate, walking guys at a 5.6% rate. He gets the dream matchup today at home versus the Red Sox. Or does he? So we have a sky-high 8.5 with over at plus money, and a slightly juiced under 8.5 at minus 136. Okay, so we'll get this out of the way first and foremost for Wheeler. So for those of you that haven't seen it before, these are the charts that I do provide to VIP with every single play. We have other people that we're considering for today, but anybody who I talk about on the show could also be a VIP play, depending on how the line moves, lineup, etc. So if you haven't read this before, just reading across from left to right, we do have the ZNC is how often the hitter swings or inside the zone and outside the zone. It's on a scale of -2 to 2. So -2 would be way under. And -1 is kind of slightly under, and 0 is average, and so on and so forth. So then you have how the hitter and how they bat, what their strikeout percentage is, and over the last 15 days against all pitchers, their whiff rate against the pitcher's primary 3 pitches. I know a lot of pitchers, especially Wheels, throw more, but I try to encompass at least 65 to 70% of the pitches they're going to see. And then their contact rate inside and outside of the zone, what their overall strikeout rate against the pitcher is, and my projected strikeouts for them on a scale of anywhere from 0.25, 0.5, 0.751, and then every now and then 1.25, meaning like a lot. So if you have any questions while I'm going through this, please do let me know. But let's break down Mr. Wheels here. Okay. So Wheeler does spend 51% of his time in the zone. And at home against lefties and against just lefties in general this year, he's been absolutely dominant. 40.3% K percentage. It's pretty good overall against all lefties in all scenarios. And as of right now, the Red Sox are projected to run five lefties. Now, will they actually run five lefties? I'm not sure that I would do that. If they run five lefties, I get why this line is set the way it is. So the other thing you should know about these charts is that I do run them before I see the line, before I look at what the line is, before the line is set. I like doing that because I like comparing what does the raw math say versus what do the books say. So am I saying that Wheeler is going to get exactly 7 strikeouts if you look at the bottom? No. What I'm saying is the math says he's going to get 7. So then I'm trying to dig in and figure out why are we at an 8.5? Well, we're at 8.5 for a few reasons. Number one is Wheeler is like Skubal in many cases in that he gets a tax put on his overall strikeouts. So if he's averaging 7.5 to 8, 7.5-ish a game, then you would add 1 as a tax, and then you can also keep that tax on because of the opponent, because except for recently, the Red Sox have had some strikeout issues. Actually, some of their hitters, as you can see over the last 15 days, still do. So that's where you get the 8.5 line. Now, what I'll tell you about an 8.5 line is a few things. And some of you who've listened to the show for a while know what I'm talking about. Is first off, for an 8.5 line to hit an over, is that virtually nothing can go wrong. It's so many strikeouts. And even if he goes 6, 7 innings, which he's projected to, virtually nothing can go wrong. Can't have a long inning, can't have like let's say, God forbid, he like in the middle of the game, he develops a blister or something like that. Or let's say like Chris Bubik yesterday, he was sick. Nothing can go wrong for a pitcher to hit a line like this. Now, the other side of that is it's Zach Wheeler against the Red Sox. And so he absolutely can hit this. But you look at some of the past history here. And granted, it's only 3 hitters. And granted, it's only 4 hitters. But you don't see a ton of strikeouts outside of anybody but Bregman, who actually happens to be their highest contact hitter. So I'm going to look for a couple things with this one before I decide what to do. I'm going to see if this line goes down to 7.5, which I expect it to. It's already down to 7.5 at BetMGM. I would expect a few other books, at least at some point in the day, to give us a 7.5. But right now, BetMGM is hanging a bettable 7.5. It's not like over 7.5 at like minus like 170 or minus 180. It's at like minus 130 something, minus 136, minus 140 something, which is a very bettable number. So I go down the line, and with wheels, I'm always looking for zone contact. Reason being is if you look at up in the upper right corner, you see that Wheels spends 51% of his time in the zone and allows a absolutely ridiculously good 75.5% zone contact. Anything under 80 is 82.6 is league average. Anything under 80 is good. Anything under 77 is really good. Anything 75 in the 75 range is absolutely outstanding. So we do have for Red Sox hitters, 4 of them that are under league average. But what I'm also looking at is how many of these Red Sox are going to take pitches in the zone. The reason why I'm asking that, the reason why I'm looking at that is because you can see Wheeler throws in the zone a lot and goes and gets after strike one a lot. So he's going to get strike one on hitters that take pitches in the zone. And you see what his in the bottom, towards the bottom right, K percentage went ahead. When he gets ahead in the count, he's striking guys out at a near 50% clip. So if you're going to take against this guy, you're going to be in trouble. But we do have, for this Red Sox team, we only have 2 guys who take. We have Breggs and we have the kid, Roman Anthony. So we have those 2 who take. Now, even though his strikeout percentage has been relatively low, he is a lefty, Anthony. He does have a really bad whiff percentage against a sweeper, and this actually goes back to the minors as well. And he takes pitches in the zone and has a zone contact right at league average. So I would be very shocked if he doesn't strike out tonight. If you can get some decent odds if he's in the lineup on him to strike out, you might want to look at maybe playing a little bit on a strikeout prop for Anthony. You might get a decent price and actually, I don't know if those are up yet on DraftKings, but you might be able to get at least a reasonable price on that because he has not been very strikeout prone, and actually one strikeout is ridiculously horrible. Two strikeouts is plus 120. That actually has a little bit of value because of these metrics. He very easily could strike out multiple times. The other guy who you can potentially expect to strike out multiple times would be Narvaez. Swings in the zone a little bit above average, but whiffs to a four-seam fastball a lot and has a zone contact percentage under 80. And right now his is plus 110 for 2+ strikeouts. So either one of those two guys to strike out 2 times, I think works. I would be shocked if both of them didn't strike out at least once, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of them strikes out twice. So going down the list, even though Wheels has only gotten him 1 out of 6 times, that's only 2 games. It's not a huge sample size. I also look at his zone contact, not the greatest, and Story has not faced this version of Wheels, so I got him for 1. Same thing with Rafaela. Even though he has a very low strikeout percentage over his last 15 days, he still does swing a lot in the zone and only makes contact at league average. Those are the types of guys where at home Wheels can feast on. I had to put Toro at the minimum, 0.25. However, if he's going to face him and he's going to bat lefty, even with this zone contact, you can probably bump that up to a 50-50 shot. And when I'm looking at Toro right now, I think, he's I don't know that his 2+ strikeouts really has a whole lot of value, so I'd probably leave that one alone. Mayer is another one where if he is in the lineup, we have a 2+ strikeouts at plus 180. That might be worth a little sprinkle. So that's kind of how I'm looking to play this one right now. Not that I don't think that Wheeler can get these guys 9 times. However, this is just, I always get a little gun shy when it comes to these sky high lines, because as I've said, literally nothing can go wrong. The other thing you have to look at is, I talked about this on the show last week, is that you have to look at innings. Wheels is at 122 innings so far this year. And so his high for his career for innings is 213, which he set back in 2021. He's thrown almost 200 innings each of the last 2 years, and the Phillies are very clearly in the playoff race. So do I think that they're going to limit him on innings? No, but I do think that if there is any sign of trouble, or there is any sign that he's laboring, or his arm isn't feeling it or whatever, they are not going to hesitate to get him out of there, because they need this guy for the postseason. So he's got about 78 innings left now before he gets to his last year's mark. And so if you think that he averages about 6.5 innings a start, that would be 12 starts from now until the end of the regular season. And that's actually he's probably going to get 12 to 14 starts between now and the end of the regular season. Maybe they dial him back a little bit later, but this is what you got to watch for in the second half, because Wheels has put in some heavy work so far. And in a game where the Phillies are favored and probably will win, is that, are you going to need this guy to throw 110, 112 pitches? He can, but do you need him to, is the better question. So the 8.5, I'm not super interested in. I got to be totally honest with you. A 7.5 with the right lineup and the right lineup construction, yes, I would be more interested in. You can't play the under here. It's just, there's too many guys who can strike out, past history aside. And what I would probably be looking for is maybe some little sprinkles on Anthony Narvaez, and Mayer at 2+ strikeouts. I wouldn't put a bag on them, but I would just be looking at, because all three of those guys can very easily strike out twice against Mr. Wheels tonight. All right. We got Trying to Rob FanDuel in the house. Thank you for joining and welcome. Appreciate you as always. And Brandon Smith, thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you as well. And yes, let's have a day indeed. All right. That's what I got for Wheels. So we will move on to the next power pitcher who has a similar, well, not even a similar, has an even worse situation when it comes to innings. Paul Skeens. The righty is striking guys out at 27.9%, walking guys at 6.4%. He gets a rematch against the Tigers at home this time. And we have a 6.5 both ways, lightly juiced, but we also have a situation here. So here's Skeens by the numbers, adding up basically to 6.5. However, is that there was a report, there have been multiple reports, and you've seen it recently, where Skeens is approaching a career high in innings. And yes, the Pirates aren't going to the playoffs, but that's not the point here. The point is you don't want to throw this kid's arm out. And so there's not a whole lot of innings left for Skeens for the season if you're going to limit him to only slightly more than what he threw last year. So you see that his outs are already at a 15.5. They've been at 17.5 pretty religiously for the first half of the year, but now you see them dropping to a 15.5. What you also see is that Paul Skeens has gotten out of the fifth inning one time in his last 6 starts. Now, granted, it was against these Tigers. However, that was in game 2 of a doubleheader. And that was also in a game where they needed him to do that. Coming back from the All-Star break, and getting some of their end of the rotation guys over the last few days, they don't necessarily need Skeens to eat up 6-7 innings and go 100 pitches. So what I would expect here is I would expect exactly what you've been seeing from him, is that 5 innings or 85 to 90 pitches and off the stage. And you can, like people who are bettors can think whatever they want, but this is where you have to adjust to what the team's doing, because they're not letting him go longer than that. They're just not. And so in these numbers, that was factored in, because if you look down at the bottom towards a bottom of this lineup, you see Meadows and Baez, if those are in fact the 8 and 9 hitters, is that if Skeens faced Meadows 3 times, I have like a reasonable belief that he could get him twice. So Meadows would probably be at a 1.25. I don't think he's going to face him 3 times. I think he's going to face him twice. Same thing with whoever's in that 7, 8, 9. I think that Skeens will face them twice, and probably the 6 hole. He'll face them twice, but he won't face them 3 times. That would also be why, even though he's gotten McKinstry 3 out of 5 times, that's why I couldn't put him at a full 1. There were some other the other numbers look good for McKinstry, but the other thing is I don't know if Skeens is going to face him 3 times. He's not going longer than 5 innings or 85 to 90 pitches. He's just not. And so, first of all, the innings is a total stay off for me. Now, can he get 6.5 strikeouts from this lineup? I think he can. My problem is that when he did torch him for 9 in Detroit, he threw 105 pitches and went 6 innings. That's not going to happen tonight. And so if we get a lineup where some of these higher strikeout guys, like, for example, like Meadows, for example, if Meadows is out and if Green is moved down the lineup, Green right now is scheduled to back cleanup, and Green has moved down a few spots. This actually might be a decent spot for some value on an under, because of the innings that Paul Skeens is going to pitch. Now, if I knew Paul Skeens was going to pitch or his regular pitch allotment and was just going to be able to go until, he couldn't go anymore, should be over all day. But the line is set like that for a reason. If he was going to go any longer, you'd get a 6.5, over 6.5 at about minus 150, minus 160, somewhere in that range, but you're not. And it's set for a reason. So don't fall into that trap and look. And this is what trend betting doesn't tell you, is that he's going to have his innings limited. He already has had his innings limited. And so what you can expect tonight is 5 innings or 85 to 90 pitches and off the stage. So what I would do if you want to bet Skeens is I would first look and see if Meadows is going to be in and if he's batting any higher than 8th. If he's batting any higher than 8th and Green is batting cleanup, that would be a nice little spot for an over, because it's, will he face those guys 3 times, yay or nay? Now, if Meadows is out and Green is down in the lineup, that's an under spot for me. And even if Javi Baez is in, that's an under spot all day for me, because of the number of guys that are high strikeout that he's going to face 3 times. And that's how you have to look at pitchers like this at this point in the year. All right, that's Skeens. All right, we'll move on to our last pitcher of the day. My good friend, my best buddy, Mr. Carlos Rodon, the lefty, is striking guys out at 28.2% clip, walking guys at 8.6. He gets the Blue Jays tonight, and you have a line which is probably exactly where it should be, over 5.5 at plus 124 and under 5.5 at minus 166. It's pretty much the same across the board. Now, you have Carlos Rodon, who overall had been cruising at this number, meaning like 6+ strikeouts, until recently. He had some games where it wasn't the greatest. Then what he had was he had a team in the Cubs where the past history said he was going to torch them, and that's exactly what he did, and with 8 strikeouts. So he's hit pretty well along the lines of past history, because he had poor past history against the Mets, got 4. Poor past history against the Blue Jays, got 4. Not the best past history either against a number of Reds hitters, got 5. And so it's been that way for almost the last month with Rodon. So what do we have tonight? Well, we have a Blue Jays team against whom he has poor past history. 22 strikeouts and 103 plate appearances against this lineup, which is projected to be 0 lefties and 9 righties, fully analytical. So a couple things with Rodon. If you go by the projected Ks, is that I come up with 5 in most every scenario, so that would lean on an under. The other thing that I look for with Rodon is the amount of chase and chase contact. The reason why that is you can see in the upper right, he only spends 45.4% of his time in the zone. And so when you do that, you need guys to chase and you need guys to miss when they chase. So the Blue Jays do have 3 guys who chase at or above, above league average. They have 3 more that are at. I'll get to them in a minute. But you have Clement, who Rodon has poor K history against and has great chase contact. Can't expect him to K. You have Bo Bichette. I got him as a 50-50 shot. He's just slightly over average, but he does chase and hack a lot. Rodon's got him a few times, so I got to put him for a half. Then Heineman, I put him for a half. You can probably go between 0.25 and a half. I think there's probably a 25 to 50% chance he strikes out just because he does chase, even though the 0 for 3 doesn't mean a lot to me for past history, just because that's only 1 game. So between the 3 chasers, I got like 1 strikeout, maybe 1.5. Then I go to the 3 guys who chase at league average. And so you have Alejandro Kirk, fantastic contact all around, fantastic contact when he chases, great history against Rodon. I can't put him down for anything more than the minimum. I go down to Jimenez. If they run Jimenez, that's going to be a strikeout. Obviously, Rodon's gotten him 2 out of 2 times, but he also chases league average and makes contact right at league average. He's been striking out a good amount lately, as you can see. All those things play right into Rodon's hand. So that's a strikeout. Same thing with, even though this is the weird one, Miles Straw. So you look at his overall chase contact and you see 73.9. It's second best on the team. And you see his whiff percentages against everything Rodon throws, which is extremely low. And you would think that's got to be an under. Well, Rodon's gotten him 5 out of 10 times. And so if Rodon sees him 3 times, I suspect he'll get him once. If he sees him twice, I think there's a decent chance he gets him once. So that's where the 0.75 comes from. But you add all those things together, and I mean, I'm not coming up with a whole lot here. And I'm coming up with 5 max in this situation. And I also have a pitcher in Rodon who has been performing almost to the T of what his past history against these opponents have been. So this is a clear look on the under in this situation. And I realize that right now it's on the juicy side at minus 166. I want to see if we can get a little bit better number, or maybe can we pair it with something? Can we do something else? Not the biggest fan in the world of paying that juice. Maybe you can just play it for 1 unit straight. But I'm going to wait till a lineup comes out because I really want to see what they do with Jimenez too. Do they put him in? Do they bat him in the 9 hole? Because if they bat him in the 9 hole, then this total goes down even further. And then are the top 5 in the lineup? Those are the ones that I really want to see. Because if the top 5 are Clement, Springer, Guerrero, Bichette, Kirk in any order, is that you just have virtually no strikeout potential in this top 5. And those are the guys that Rodon's going to see 3 times. And that's what's going to make getting 6 strikeouts to me extremely, extremely difficult. So under or nothing for me on Rodon. All right. Let's go. I see a couple comments in the chat here. I see Cover Kings is in the house. Welcome, welcome, saying 1 unit on Wheeler, 7+ and Singa 4+ at minus 135, if you're interested in that. And let's go to other looks, other sides, totals, etc. And I see that Philip had a comment. Thoughts on Flaherty and Gausman? Oh boy. Okay, so I am following my hard-coded rule on Jack Flaherty. I followed it all year, and there's a reason behind it. And it's the number of guys that chase above league average. And when I say chase above league average, do they chase 3 to 5% worse than league average? And if there's only 3 of them and you got a bunch of guys below, I'm hard look at the under. If you got 4, I usually just pass on it. And if it's 5 or more, it's over all the time. I don't care what the number, the metrics, anything are. The reason why that is because not only does that match up with Flaherty's performance, but the other reason why is because Jack Flaherty does not have a dominant fastball. He only goes like 92 to 94 on his 4-seam fastball. But his knuckle curve and his slider are phenomenal. And so if you get guys that chase, even if they have good chase contact, he makes you miss. I just showed you some of the elite chase contact against the Blue Jays, or that the Blue Jays have. And Flaherty got him 6 or 7 times, and it was because they chased. And if you chase against this man, you're going to strike out. So I always wait to see what the actual lineup is and how many guys chase, which you can get by looking up if you just type in the opponent that they're playing and just put MLB Savant. And if you scroll down, you can see what their chase numbers are. And I'm looking for chase rate, not chase contact. I actually don't even care about chase contact. Or I mean, I do, but not as much. I care about chase rate, because if you chase against Flaherty, he's going to make you miss. So I want to see what the Pirates do from that regard, and I want to see how many chasers that they have. So it's 3 chasers. It's a look at the under. 4 chasers, it's a pass. 5 or more, it's a look at the over. That's just the rule that I followed for him for probably the last 2 months. So Gausman, I have a lean on Gausman on the under. Here's my problem with Gausman, is that Gausman's strikeouts are almost exclusively tied to the velocity on his 4-seam fastball. And so Gausman himself has said when he's warming up, he doesn't know if he's going to come out there and he's going to throw 92 to 94 or if he's going to throw 95 to 97. It's like a crapshoot. And so what I usually do with Gausman in absence of any line indicators, past history, whatever that I can use, is I look to take him live and I look to see what is the four seam fastball velo that he's running in the first inning, because it normally doesn't change. And so if he's running 94 to 96 or above, then I can look at the over. And the reason why that is because then he can use his four seam fastball as another out pitch, because he has a slider, yes, but his splitter becomes so much more lethal when his four seam fastball is working, because when you can change the speed and the direction like that on hitters and keep them honest with a four seam fastball, and make them whiff with that high velo, then it becomes another weapon for a strikeout. But if you're not, if you're only going to be throwing like 91, 92, then that four seam fastball is not a weapon, and you only have your splitter, which doesn't really equal his line doesn't equal 6 strikeouts, which is his line for tonight. So if you're playing a pregame, if you want to play it like right now, I have a slight lean on the under, but I also want to just make sure, like I actually watch Gausman live virtually every time to see what his four seam velo, fastball velo is, and if it's in that upper range, then he's going to be able to use it as an out pitch, and his strikeouts can go up. If it's not, then he's not. So good questions. Cover King's also saying, sorry, came at the end, playing Singa 6+ Ks, plus 105 for a half unit. It's the right opponent for it, that's for sure. All right, other looks, other leans, other everything. So a couple money lines that I'm eyeing up. And again, for the show, I only give out plus money lines, only ones that I think have value. I think the Athletics money line has value, even though it's gone down to even money. Plus 105 in some places. I think the Astros money line at plus 120 also has value. I already talked about Toronto. I think the Blue Jays at plus 102 or right around even money has value. And I think there's a slight amount of value on, no, not really. There's not. Sorry, thought I had one more, but I don't. For totals, I think that the under in Chicago today can make sense with Royals and Cubs, under 7.5. And then another lean on the over for Tigers and for Pirates. I think that I think there's a little bit of value on that. I know conventional wisdom would tell you under. I think there's a little bit of value on over. It's just a touch too low for me. And then the only other one would be on the under for Astros Diamondbacks. Under 9 would be preferred, but I think 8.5 can still work as well. Cover King's asking, do you think they let Ohtani go 4 innings? I think it's more tied to pitches than innings, honestly. I think that if he's efficient, he can go 4 innings, yeah. But I would be surprised if he goes any more than 45, 50 pitches. So, but I think it's tied more to pitches than it is to actual innings. All right. I think that will do it for the day. If you have any other questions, please feel free to hit me up. But as I said before, this show is being broadcast on behalf of the Daily Bread Network on YouTube. Please do subscribe there for all of our daily content. Smash the like button and follow me at Spin Doc Sports if you like what you hear. One more time through the chat, thank you to everybody who's been here and reposted. Miss Chris, Hoodat Boy, Jay, Kid Keon, Philip, Adams, Berg, Trying to Rob FanDuel, Brandon, and Cover Kings. Appreciate you guys. Thank you all for joining wherever you are. Best of luck with everything you're tailing. We'll be back tomorrow with 3 more pitchers and a whole bunch more content. Best of luck. We'll see you.